Alright, this will be Monday's lesson. I wasn't going to require you guys to watch it on Sunday, so we'll be watching this one in class. We're going to be talking about single-step variables. So the student objective today is to practice working with variables. Now, variables, they're numbers and answers that make an equation true. Often a variable is represented by letters or symbols. Often we use X in class. So your HOQ is going to be solve 3x plus 6 so that it's equal to x plus 12 when x is equal to either 1, 2, or 3. Here's what you're going to have to do. Basically, you're going to have to plug 1, 2, and 3 into this equation and see which one makes everything true. Alright? So, and that'll be for you to do at the end of the lesson. Right now we're going to look at example 1. Example 1, we're going to work with actual variables and how we want to solve these. Okay? So on A, we can look at this and we can possibly solve this with mental math by saying, hey, 35 minus a number, minus something, gives me 21. Some of us can look at that and we can figure it out right now. We know what x is. Some of us can't. So here's what we have to do. We're going to split our equal sign. Okay? Now, the left and right side of our equal sign are two separate sides of our equation. Anything that I do on the left, I also have to do on the right. Now, anytime we're working with a variable, we're always going to try to get the variable by itself. So, I need to move this 35 over. In order to move 35 over, I have to subtract 35, because a positive 35 minus a negative 35 is going to give me 0. But since I do it to this side, I also have to do it to my other side, minus 35. Okay? Now, like I said, this is going to give me 0. So what do I have left? Well, I have a negative x on this side equals 21 minus 35. Right? Well, 21 minus 35 is going to give me a negative 14. Now, if you look at this equation, you can say, well, negative x equals negative 14. Well, then, if I get rid of the negatives, x just equals 14. But how do I get rid of the negatives? Well, there's a couple different ways. The easiest way for us to do this is to say, hey, let's multiply this by negative 1. Again, if I do it to one side, I do it to both sides. Okay? So, negative times a negative is a positive, and that gives me a positive x. And a negative times a negative is a positive, so it's going to give me a positive 14. So if I wanted to go back and double check this, I would say, is 35 minus 14 equal to 21? Okay? If that's true, then x is my answer. In this case, it is true. Alright? So I'm going to box up this x value. Now we got another one over here. Now this one we used subtraction. Over here we're going to have addition, so it's going to be a little bit different. Again, we have to start by splitting our problem. When we split it, we have two sides. We have the left and the right. Okay? This positive 15, well, we had a positive 35 over here, so we're going to get rid of positive 15. It's minus 15. So if I do it to one side, I have to do it to the other, minus 15. Okay? Now what's left over here is just a positive x, so I can bring x down by itself. And then I read this again, 28 minus 15. Okay, 28 minus 15 gives me 13. Now because x is positive and by itself, I don't have to do anything else. And then I can say, hey, is 15 plus 13 equal to 28? Because it is, we know our answer is true. Alright? Now let's look at it when we're talking about division. Okay? Now, 75 is going to be divided by x to equal 5. How in the world can I look at this and work it out so that I'm not going, well, sorry, I had to get a drink of water. So 75 divided by x. Okay? What number goes into 75 and gives me 5? What number can do that? Well, easy way to figure that out is to reverse it. Okay? instead of figuring out how many times x goes into 75, let's figure out how many times 5 goes into 75. Alright? So, 5 goes into 75, 1, and that leaves me with 2 left over. I bring down a 5. 5 goes into 25 5 times. So my x equals 15. With fractions, or if we had written this as a fraction, it'd be a little bit different. Alright? Now, looking at D, we've got 7 times x. That's what the variable being right next to a number means. 7 times x equals 84. So what number times x equals 84? Well, since this is multiplication right here, we're actually going to divide to find our answer. So I'm going to write it like this. I'm going to split the problem, but I'm going to divide this side by making it into a fraction, and I'm going to divide this side by making it into a fraction. Okay? Now 7 goes into 7 just one time, so I can cancel these out, and all I'm left with is 1x. Whereas 7 goes into 84 12 times. Alright? If you want to come down and work that out, put 84 in the house and divide by 7, you'll still get 12. Okay? So these are the basic 3 types of single step problems that you'll have to deal with. Now, example 2 is translating single step problems. This is a problem that we have a lot in our STAR and tax testing. Okay? We're going to look at the sum, that's an important word, of a number, that's important, and 9. So what this tells me is I need to add, because that's sum, a number. Well, what letter do I want to use for a number? Since we've been using x as our variables, and it doesn't matter what we use, we want to use x, and then what number is this? It's 9. Now we have to take these three components and put them together so that they say the exact same thing. The sum of a number and 9. Because a number comes first, then we need to write it x plus, or the sum, x is equal to the sum and 9. Okay? And you see where I pulled the information from. This is a little bit trickier. Okay? Reading and pulling the information is hard. Alright? Now I'm looking at B. I'm going to look at the product. Remember, product means to multiply. I'm going to use a dot, not an X. Multiply of 6, which is the number 6, and a number. Again, we're going to use X because we don't know what that is. So the product of 6 and a number. Because 6 comes first, we're going to say, hey, 6 times our number. That's what we're looking for. Alright, so your last practice problem that you've got, or the last thing I want you to do before we hand out our before you leaves, is going to be 7 plus x equals 5. What number plus x is going to equal 5? Remember, split the equation, and because this is positive, I need to subtract our 7 from both sides. I'm going to let you finish the rest of this and give me the answer. I'll see you guys in class on Monday.